Hey everybody, I decided to record this in a video because really the value of having you guys together in a room like we talked about with level 10 is collaborating to solve issues, not reporting information. Similarly, the value of having us collectively, myself included, in the room with you and your team is not so much Joel conveying information as much as it is us collaborating together. And when we talk about the EOS rollout, there's a fair amount of just kind of information I need to convey to you. And so I decided to put that in a video because you guys are all smart and you can watch it and then you can refer back to it, and then also it saves us time actually in the session. So the big idea here with the EOS rollout is we've been doing a lot of work at getting EOS rolled out at the leadership team level. So that would be all of you who are leaders in the business. And what we need to do is start looking at how do we get that cascading through the rest of the organization. And this is a process that will take you somewhere between 6 months and 3 years. And every organization does it differently. But I want to cover with you kind of the major points of how do we do that and what do you really need to be aware of. So there's two big things that we talk about when we are talking about the rollout. One is called the launch. And then the second is called the state of the company. And then I lied a little bit because there's really three, which is the department rollouts. And so what I want to do is talk you through what each of these three things is and then how it all fits together and what you do with that. So as you will recall, in EOS, we have 5 what we call the foundational tools. And so extra credit if you know what they are before I even write them down. But they are the VTO, the accountability chart, your rocks, your scorecards, your level 10s. And all 5 of these in the rollout will cascade to everybody in the organization. And I need my red marker, which you guys know I can't do anything not in the right color. So the way that this differs now is that how we roll out 2 of these is different from how we roll out 3 of them. And so these 2, the accountability chart and the VTO, these are rolled out corporately. And then these 3 are rolled out by department. And corporately means we're going to get everybody together and everybody sees it at once kind of a thing. And then by department for the rocks, scorecards, level 10s means that each of you as leaders is going to do it with your own set of people as you see fit and as you decide it makes the most sense. And so I'm going to start with the VTO and the accountability chart. When we start talking about those things to our people, we need to do what we call the launch. And the launch is really kind of a special version of this. So I'm going to start with this thing right here. State of the company is SOTC. State of the company is the quarterly meeting that we do with all staff to get everybody together, cover all the content that needs to happen in terms of what happened with last quarter, where are we now, where are we going. So it's where we've been, where we are, where we're going. The launch is the first one we do of that. And the state of the company should be not a real long meeting. Like we're talking 45 minutes tops kind of thing. So it's a pretty quick get in, get out. The launch would be a little bit longer because you've got to really explain what is this EOS thing and how does it fit together. So when you're doing the launch, there's a couple things that you need to cover. One is just this thing about like what is EOS. I will try to write so you guys can read it. So what is EOS? And then the second is to go over the 6 key components. And what is EOS? Really all you need to tell your people is that this is a system for channeling human energy. It's about getting everybody aligned around a common vision. It's about teaching people to execute so they can achieve a vision. It's about building healthy teams in the process so that everything we do is sustainable. The 6 key components, you guys have seen that. That's the wheel-looking thing. And inside your leadership team manuals in the front cover, there's the proven process on the back of that kind of cardstock thing has that model on it. You want to make sure that people understand that there's 6 key components. So there's the vision component, the people component, data, issues, process, traction, and talk through at a very high level what those things are. You really just need to say that vision is all about getting everybody on the same page with where we're going, how we're going to get there. The people component is about discipline. The people component is about getting the right people in the right seats. And then the data component is about running this organization based on information and not based on subjectives and somebody's ego. The issues component is about how we solve problems in the organization. The process component is how we identify the most important things that need to get done and make sure that they get done consistently the way that works best. And then the traction component is all about the way that we connect as people with meetings and the way that we execute with rocks. So you don't have to go into a ton of detail with it, but they should see at a high level what is this thing. So that's kind of the intro part to what we call the launch. But then, and so you only need to do that once when you're like saying, what is this EOS thing? And so I just want to prepare you that it will be a little bit longer the first time you do it because you have to explain what this thing is. Then every other time you do what we call a state of the company meeting, there's three things you're going to cover, and that is where we've been as an organization, that's where we are, and where we're going. And so here is how this works. So it's where we've been is the first part, and where we've been is really about last quarter. So it's about last quarter, any kind of headlines you want to share with people. It's about any kind of metrics that are relevant to everybody, and it's about sharing the rocks. So last quarter we told you about the company rocks. Here's how we did on those rocks. That's where we've been. And then where we are is about kind of the present tense and who we are as an organization, regardless of the past or the future, kind of the things that are always going to be the same there. And so that is the core values and the core focus and the marketing strategy. And so when you're talking through core values, core focus, marketing strategy, you're going to give the speech, which is the way that we've decided, the standardized way that we're going to talk about the core values. And then you're going to talk through the core focus and you're going to talk through the marketing strategy. And it's going to be pretty much the same thing every time. And that's okay. There's not a lot of novelty in this, but the repetition is important. So core values, when you talk about the core values as an organization and what are your core values, this is a great time to acknowledge people in terms of like, hey, this thing happened last quarter and you should be aware that, you know, Jennifer did this whatever thing, and that's a great way of exemplifying this particular core value. So that can be a good thing to do. But really what's most important is that you're communicating like you. You're not trying to say, well, this is the way that Joel would talk, or this is the way I saw somebody else do it, but what really sounds like your organization, because people will smell if you're not really being authentic here. So it's where we've been, it's where we are, and then the last part is where we're going. And where we're going is about several things. It's about the 10-year target, it's about the 3-year picture, it is about the 1-year plan, and then it's about the new company rocks. So the 10-year target, 3-year picture, 1-year plan, that's the same that you said last quarter, but the rocks will be the new ones that we just set. Because this state of the company meeting should be happening as soon as possible after the quarterly meetings that we have together as a group. So if day 0 is our quarterly EOS session as a leadership team, then like on day 3, you want to be having your state of the company meeting. And we schedule these EOS sessions far in advance, so you should also be scheduling your state of the company meetings far in advance. So we've got the EOS meeting that we do together. As soon as possible after that, you're doing the state of the company meeting. And then as soon as possible after that, so like day 5, is when departments would set rocks. But now not all departments are going to be doing rocks. That's okay. But I'm fast forwarding here. So at the point that everybody is doing rocks, we want to get together, do the EOS session. As soon as possible after that, we do state of the company. Then as soon as possible after that, we're doing rocks with each one of our teams. And so I'm going to talk through it just a little bit, how do we do that and how does it fit together. But just at a high level, that's kind of what the timing should look like. And then on day 90, we're having our next EOS session. And so your rocks are always due at the EOS session. Your department rocks will be due at your last level 10 meeting before that session. And so like on day 88 is when your department rocks would be due, so that when you come to the quarterly, I can say, all right, operations team, what was your department's rock completion rate? And you can report on that to your team. So, state of the company, where we've been, where we are, where we're going. This is how the cadence fits together in terms of timing. Now, one important thing that I want to make sure is conveyed to you on this. I really don't care if people remember everything that you said in this meeting. What I care about is the feeling that they walk away from. And there's a very specific thing that I want out of this. And this is what I want your people to be thinking in their head. It's they have a plan, and I have a place. They, meaning the leadership team. So I want them walking away saying, you know, maybe they didn't even understand all of the detail of the stuff you said. Maybe they don't agree with every detail. Maybe they don't even remember it all. But if they walk away feeling like, you know what, this leadership team, they've got a plan. Like they're dialed in, they're doing their thing. I have confidence in what they're doing. They've got a plan, and they feel like I personally have a place at this organization. There's a future for me here. Then I don't really care if they even heard all of this other stuff that you said in terms of where we've been, where we are, where we're going, because how they feel walking away from this is the most important thing to me. Now, ideally, they hear everything, they understand everything, they remember everything, in addition to having that feeling. But don't lose track of ultimately what we're going for is this thing right here. They have a plan, I have a place. If you can accomplish that in the state of the company, I really don't care what else you do. You have succeeded there. So the launch is how we roll it, is how we do the initial kickoff of EOS. The state of the company is what we do every single quarter. And then we talked about the cadence of when things happen with setting rocks, with departments, that kind of thing. The content of the state of the company, the goal, they have a plan, I have a place. Now that just says about that content. Oh, I forgot something. Failure on my part. When you do the launch, you also need to be talking through the accountability chart. So the accountability chart, you guys know what that is. You've seen it. There isn't a time in the regular state of the company meeting where we say, here it is, everybody, and we introduce the accountability chart. So make sure when you do the launch, you're talking about what is EOS, what are the 6 key components. Here's this thing called the accountability chart. This is where you fit on the accountability chart. This is how it works, how it fits together. So that happens at the launch. The VTO, all of that content is being covered in the state of the company meeting. We've got core values, core focus, 10-year target, marketing strategy, 3-year picture, 1-year plan, rocks. That's the VTO content. And so the accountability chart and the VTO, those are these things, those are happening corporately in either the state of the company or the launch. Okay, so now let's talk about these ones here, the rocks, the scorecards, the level 10s, because these ultimately are going to be rolled out to every single person in the organization. So how does that work? A couple big things here. Thing number one is that this gets rolled out a department at a time at whatever speed you as that department leader feel ready. So it's entirely possible that this department, this team, feels totally ready to take on all these tools, and this team in this department feels not ready to take on any of them, and that's fine. You will do more damage than good by pushing this too fast and trying to say, well, that department's doing it, we better do it too. So what's important here is that you guys, as the leadership team and as individual leaders on that team, you really master these tools so that you can be effective teachers of them when you roll this out. You have to be good at level 10s. You have to be confident in your ability to set rocks, in your understanding of rocks, in your ability to execute rocks. You need to be confident in your scorecard, how that works, your ability to keep metrics on track. You need to be confident in those things before you start rolling this out to your people. So some teams start rolling this out right away, like right after Vision Building Day 2, they start pushing this stuff out. Some teams wait a while, and that's fine. The other thing that I also want to make clear is when we talk about becoming 100% strong in the EOS model, and we talk about the organizational checkup, it says everything in terms of absolutes. Like everyone in the company has a number. Everybody has a rock. And yes, that's ideal. If we're going to get to 100% strong, literally everybody in the company will be in a level 10. Literally everybody will have a rock. Literally everybody will have their name next to at least one measurable on a scorecard for their team. Now, not every company elects to roll that out down to the ground level. That's ideal if you can, but I just want to, like, don't freak out right now about what are we going to do about the carpenters who are swinging hammers. Like, we don't have to decide that right now. You roll it out one level at a time, whoever leaders are ready for whichever components, and then as it makes sense, we continue to push it farther. I've had teams say, we're not going to roll it down to ground level, stay that way for years, like literally 4 or 5 years. And then this particular one was a client that I was just doing their annuals. So I did everything with them for 2-3 years. I was just doing their annuals. And then like on annual 6, they said, we decided finally to roll this out to the ground level last year, and it made a huge difference. So for whatever reason, they weren't ready to roll it out to the ground level for 5 years, and then they decided they were ready to, and they did. I also had a client literally roll it out down to the ground level, including the guys swinging hammers, and that did not go over well, and they ended up pulling it back up and just kept it at the supervisor, like the job soup level, because they couldn't get their people to buy in. The people who were on the front lines trying to have rocks, trying to have level 10s every week, it didn't go well. So ideally everybody in the entire organization gets this. You don't have to freak out or feel like you're a failure if you don't do that. Now, you wouldn't be 100% strong in all 6 key components if you don't, but nobody's ever become 100% strong in all the 6 key components. So give yourself grace. Don't freak out on that. The other thing that I want to make sure is clear is that when I say one level at a time, that doesn't mean the entire level. So like if the sales team is ready to roll out level 10s, but the ops team is not, that's just fine. And if the sales team is ready and then the ops team finally is ready later, and then under the ops team, they've got the quality department and they've got the service department and they've got the technology department or whatever, and 2 of those departments are ready and 1 of them is not, it's just fine to have 2 of them start something and 1 of them not. It is also fine to roll out level 10s without rocks and without scorecards, or to say my team is ready for rocks, but they're not ready for scorecards or level 10s yet. And so part of what we will do in your session is graph out what exactly we are going to do. And so I will be doing something very similar to this. I don't know why I do it in red, but I do. So we've got the departments here. We've got level 10s. So this is the department. We got level 10s. We got rocks. We got scorecards. And let's just say this is the finance team and the sales team and the ops team and the commercial real estate team or whatever. So we're going to graph it out like this and then talk through this rollout and then decide which teams are ready for which pieces of this rollout. So they're all going to get the VTO and accountability chart when you do the launch and state of the company. They're not all necessarily going to get all of the other tools right away. And so the key that I use for this is that if there's a check mark there, that means it's something that's already done. If there's a forward arrow, that means that we're going to do it later, so not this quarter. If there's a strike through, like a null symbol like that, it means that we don't intend to ever do this for that department. And if there's a Q for quarter, that means we're doing it this quarter. And so we'll talk through this and we'll say, okay, for the finance team, screwed that up. I should have written these things. I should have written it like this. Finance, sales, ops. All right, so if you're confused, that's why. So we'll say, all right, finance team, do you feel like your people are ready for level 10s? And if say yes, okay, all right, well, we're going to do that this quarter. And then what about rocks? Yep, we're going to do that this quarter. Scorecard, nope, we're going to do that later. Okay, cool. Salespeople, are they ready for level 10s? Nope, we're going to do it later. Rocks, nope, we're going to do it later. Scorecards later. No, okay, great. Ops team, level 10s. Yep, we're going to do it this quarter. Rocks, we're going to do it this quarter. Scorecard, we don't intend to ever do that. I don't know. I don't see any value in having a scorecard for the ops team. Please don't do that. But this is how the tool works. So that's what we're doing there. And then the reason that I capture it this way is so that when I take pictures and we look back at things, we can know, like, what did we agree on? What did we say is going to happen this particular quarter? So we'll be doing that for your team in the next session when we talk about that. Okay, so a couple other things then about, let's say that you feel like your team is ready for level 10s, you feel like you're ready for rocks, you feel like you're ready for scorecards. How exactly do we do that? And so I want to show you what we do. This here, you should recognize, this is a basic accountability chart. And what you're doing so far is this leadership team is having level 10s, this leadership team is setting rocks, this leadership team has scorecards. Now, the sales team at some point is also going to be doing that. And so in this scenario, I'm going to say that there's the sales leader has an outside salesperson, an outside sales team, an inside sales team, and a marketing team. Okay, so at some point, this sales leader is going to be rolling out level 10s to this group and is going to be setting rocks with that group, leading that group, and having a scorecard. What that means is that anybody who is a manager is going to be in 2 level 10s. You're going to be in a level 10 for the leadership team. You're going to be in a level 10 that you're leading for your department. Now, at some point, this inside salesperson, whoever leads that department, there's 4 people on the inside sales team. And so this person who leads that team will also be doing a level 10 and setting rocks and having a scorecard with the inside sales team. So when that happens, that person will be in a level 10 for the sales team as a whole and in a level 10 for the inside sales team. So there's an overlap all the way down the organization. And so when we talk about level 10s, we're not talking about random groups of people. We're talking like literally about, if you own the seat on the accountability chart, which are the people that report directly to you, you will have a level 10 meeting with those people, and so on and so forth. Let me check my notes to make sure I got, on the, one question that people typically ask is, well, how long does it have to be when we start rolling this out? And typically it's shorter. So at the leadership team level, I've been very methodical, saying, no, it needs to be 90 minutes once a week, every, same day, same time, same agenda, starts on time, ends on time, all that thing. When you start rolling it down to departments, it typically goes faster. You've got fewer rocks to report on, you've got fewer scorecard items, you're solving, the lower you go in the organization, the more the issues you're solving are tactical rather than like big, gnarly strategic things. So I would say on average, this is not an answer key, but typically first level down, a level 10 would be maybe 45 minutes or an hour. Now you're going to do the exact same things that you did in your leadership team level 10. It's just going to go faster. And then as you go down further in the organization, maybe it's half hour, maybe it's 45 minutes. I've had a couple people, when they get to the front lines, break it up and say, all right, we're going to do like an 8-minute stand-up meeting every morning. And on Mondays, we're going to do Segway. And on Tuesdays, we're going to report on rocks, and we're going to report on scorecards. And then on Wednesdays, we're going to check in on our to-dos, and we're going to do headlines. And then Thursdays and Fridays, we're going to IDS or something like that. And that's okay too. I'm less concerned about how long it is and exactly how you do it. I'm more concerned with making sure that you cover the content. The other thing people say is, well, do we have to do it every week? Well, no. Could you do it every other week? Yes, you could. Could you do it once a month? Yes, you could. The problem with that is that if you do it every other week and somebody misses a meeting, then there's a month in between that whole team being together and that person having the continuity. And so I'd rather have you do it shorter and do it every week than do it longer and do it every other week. Let me check. Yeah, so that's level 10s. And like I always tell you guys, I am here for you, and you will never be made fun of for calling me to ask a question about something that we've already gone over, because you're never going to remember everything. That's just fine. And so you may feel totally confident right now, saying like, I got it, I understand what Joel's saying about the level 10s. And then the day before you're actually going to do your first level 10, you're like, wait a minute, what now? And just call me. I promise I will help you. I'll not make fun of you. Okay, so now let's talk about rocks. If we said for your department, you're ready to roll out rocks, what does that look like? I call this the context funnel. So everybody sees everything in context, and you guys have way more visibility into the context of everything because you're having all the discussions in the room. You're having all these sessions together. Not everybody in your organization does, and so we need to help them see that context. And so the context funnel is really about, at its top, we've got the core values, we got the core focus, we got the marketing strategy, the things that kind of are permanent and make us who we are. And then from a timeline standpoint, as we go down this funnel, it's the 10-year target, it's the 3-year picture, it's the 1-year plan, and it's the company rocks. That was a terrible writing. Company rocks. And all of that they're going to get in the state of the company meeting. So that's why we want to do the setting of your setting of your department rocks as soon as possible after that. So this all happens in the state of the company meeting. Then when you meet with your department, you're going to be sharing your individual rocks. So you're going to say, all right, you heard everything that the visionary integrator talked about in the state of the company. Core values, core focus, marketing strategy, 10-year target, 3-year picture, 1-year plan. You heard the company rocks. Now here are my individual rocks that I set. Because those aren't shared. It's not a secret, but those aren't shared when you get everybody together for state of the company. And then in light of your individual rocks, you are guiding your people in choosing what rocks they will have for this quarter. Now, the more you tell your people what to do, the more you will have to tell them what to do. And so what we want to do here as much as possible is not say, here's your rock, or here's what I think you should be doing. Pick of these 3, pick 2 of them. What we want to do is help them see the context, help them understand where the company's trying to go, how they fit into it. They have a plan, I have a place. You guys have an issues list for your department, if you've already rolled stuff out to your department. And then in light of those issues and everything else what do you, this is me as the department leader talking to my staff, in light of all of that, what do you believe your rock should be for this quarter? And let them choose rocks. Now, you don't want to let them walk off a cliff. You're not going to let them say, my rock for the quarter is to buy a Porsche for everybody. There's reality here. You don't want to let them make a stupid mistake. But at the same time, they're going to be twice as committed to a rock that they chose versus something that you handed to them. And so as much as possible as leaders, we want to create context and then create that opening for them to step up into. And that's what you're doing as much as possible when you are leading your people and setting rocks. You will set rocks with your people the exact same way that we do it in our sessions. And so you've seen it happen a couple times in EOS so far. And so You'll follow the exact same process. You can look back in the photos for like the checklist that I go through every time I do it, so you can see what to do in what order. Once again, if you want me to help you through it, you just call me, and I promise I will help you through it and not make fun of you for asking a question that we've already talked about. So you really only have one chance to do this right, and so it's important that you don't just kind of wing it when you go into your people if you don't really feel like you've got this dialed in. So that was the department level 10s, and what do we do with rocks? Then the other part is scorecard. So what do we do with a scorecard? So a couple things on scorecard. In this fictitious example, where we've got this company where we've got finance, sales, ops, and commercial real estate that I just made up, what that means is that on your leadership team scorecard, you're probably going to have, let's say you've got 3 finance metrics, and you've got 4 sales metrics, and you've got 2 operations metrics, and you've got 2 commercial real estate metrics. So these are the finance ones, these are the sales ones, these are the ops ones, these are the commercial real estate ones. On that scorecard, those are items within that department that everybody on the leadership team wants to see and pay attention to and monitor every single week. That doesn't mean that there's not other things that your department is going to want to see, to monitor, to keep track of, that are going to help you know, when we talk about the rumble strips and the scorecard, it's going to help you know if your department is drifting. And my computer almost went to sleep there because I hadn't touched the mouse. So yes, we're back. So in terms of the rumble strips, they're going to help you know if your department is drifting in more of a granular level than everybody else and the leadership team needs to see. So let's just pick the finance team here. So there's already 3 metrics that the finance team is reporting every single week to the leadership team. I said that wrong. There are already 3 metrics that you, as the finance leader, are reporting to the leadership team every single week to help them understand if the finance department is on track or off track. So when you go to do this with your team, you're going to be monitoring those same 3 things that the leadership team is, but then there's probably going to be, another 4 that are more granular. You want to see them every week, your people want to see them every week, but they're more granular than the leadership team necessarily wants to see. So same thing with the sales team. All right, there's 4 sales metrics right here that the leadership team is seeing every single week. When the sales leader starts rolling this out to the sales team, your scorecard is going to have the same 4 things on it, but then you also may say, you know what, we want to see click-through rates every week. I'm not sure everybody needs to see that. So we want to see web hits, we want to see click-through rates, we want to see conversion for each of the 3 different types of projects we sell, and we want to see, total inquiries that came through our website or whatever. So 4 of these are the exact same that the leadership team is seeing, and then you've got 6 more that you as a department are tracking. Now then, if you're the inside salesperson, if this is what the sales team as a whole is tracking, there's probably 3 of these that are inside sales metrics that when you roll out the scorecard to your team, you're going to be pulling those 3, but then you're also going to have 2 more that are specific to inside sales that the sales department as a whole doesn't need to see every week, but your team as the inside sales team really wants to see these other things as well. And so the same way with level 10s, there's overlap as we go down the organization. The scorecard does the exact same thing. The metrics that we're tracking at the leadership team level will also be tracked at the department level plus some others. And then some of those will be tracked at the sub-department level plus some others. So it overlaps like that. So that is department scorecards. So if you are choosing to roll out these things to your team, then that's what you're going to be doing for the scorecard. So that is all I wanted to cover from the lecture standpoint. When we get to the session, we'll be talking a little bit more. I'll saying, okay, do you guys have any questions? Does that make sense? And make sure that we do any Q&A that needs to happen. Let me double check my notes to make sure I covered all the things that I want to cover. Yep, there we go. So, looking forward to seeing you guys at your Vision Building Day 2 session, and we will talk more then. Thanks.